In the previous lesson, I discussed character systems with you and highlighted potential questions that might emerge when examining the connections between these characters through their drawings. In this lesson, what I am going to do is select the system I will use to develop my story for the final project and begin imagining how the relationships, as shown by the arrows, will be established. I will start to anchor them, so to speak, and bring them into a more concrete form. If you have a character or characters already envisioned for your story, feel free to incorporate them into your narrative. I am going to start from scratch. And for that, I made some cards that will help me play with these systems and move them around. I plan to create a system involving 4 characters, but I want one to be missing. Characters who are absent hold as much significance as those who actively participate in the dialogues and contribute to the unfolding narrative. I will start from this square. At this moment, I don't know if the relationship between my characters is positive or negative, and that's why I only use these lines to indicate that there is a connection, but I still don't know what that connection is. To initiate movement, I'll arrange them in this new drawing, positioning characters B, C, and D to pursue character A. This setup will help create dynamic action. I like the idea of searching. I think A could be a runaway bride because she feared being hunted and fled. This setup reminds me of intriguing narratives where the protagonist starts as a runaway bride. However, I've never penned such a story myself. Therefore, let's now delve into identifying the cast that will track our fleeing heroine. Firstly, there's the groom, assigned the letter D. Her sister might also be searching for her, represented by character B. This setup adds intrigue to the unfolding narrative. And finally, C. It will be his sister-in-law, the sister of the character. Using this data, I can determine the characters' ages and assign each one a name, enhancing the story's depth. Will be Gabriela, the runaway bride, and she might be 35 years old. We will call B Brenda. She will be 30 years old and is Gabriel's sister. The character C will be named Irene. She will be 45. And finally, the character of Gabriela's groom will be Salvador, and he will be 40 years old. I want the absent character to be Salvador. I will tell this story with only female characters. To date, I've replicated the sibling dynamics. Brenda and Gabriela are sisters, while Irene and Salvador are siblings. I am considering 2 possible approaches here. Can I take advantage and use the sibling theme for my story? Or can I change one of these relationships? The one I like the most and would leave as it is the relationship between Gabriela and Brenda. They will be sisters. Now the question is, what other relationship could there be between Irene and Salvador? The first thing that comes to mind is that Irene could be Salvador's ex-wife. But at this moment, I'm not interested in creating a love triangle or having all conversations revolve. Irene remains Salvador's partner, so she won't become his ex-wife. Alternatively, Irene could be Salvador's mother, keeping her closely tied to him in another familial role. But I think there are some conversations that don't interest me as much from this approach, so I will try one more option. If Irene can be Salvador's mother, she might also be his daughter. Considering Irene as a daughter would require altering one character's age to fit this new relationship dynamic. Irene could become a teenager, while Salvador might be an elderly man. However, I prefer keeping Irene at her current age and making Salvador about 75 years old. This maintains their dynamic without drastic changes. I found this intriguing since it meant that Gabriela left her elderly fiancé standing at the altar, abandoning him on what should have been their wedding day. With this information and knowing that both Irene and Brenda are set on trailing Gabriela, it strikes me as somewhat anticlimactic that these 2 characters share the exact same goal. Thus, I opted for a minor change, where Irene keeps searching for Gabriela, adding depth to their intertwined destinies. And Gabriela searches for her sister Brenda. This way, each of my characters has a different objective. Irene, allied with Salvador, searches for Gabriela, who has gone to find Brenda. Here, what I'm thinking is that these sisters, Gabriela and Brenda, haven't seen each other for several years. And this allows the characters of Irene and Brenda to interact for the first time. Having established these relationships, I will now create a comprehensive framework for the story, clearly illustrating how each character is connected. With these decisions made, I can now construct a detailed system for the entire narrative, outlining the intricate web of relationships among the characters. Here, The only relationship that does not exist and will not exist directly is that of Salvador with Brenda. The rest of the characters are mutually related. Whenever I build these relationships for my plays, I make sure that the characters have a lot to say to each other. Characters who are reuniting, meeting for the first time, or secrets being revealed are perfect opportunities for the characters to exchange ideas. It is also very important to think about the situation the characters are in when exchanging those ideas. We have to think about the place and what is happening. A marriage proposal, for instance, differs greatly whether it's made on a crashing plane or while enjoying a milkshake in an ice cream parlor. Even if the overall setup involves 4 characters, the context changes everything. When one is missing, triangulation will dominate the scene, shaping interactions and dynamics significantly. I will create a particular system for each moment of the story: the setup, the conflict, and the resolution. This system illustrates the beginning of the story. When Gabriela runs away and goes to find Brenda, Irene pursues Gabriela on behalf of herself and Salvador. In the development, what interests me are the relationships between these 3 characters. As you can see, the absent character, Salvador, does not appear in the development of this story. This invites me to speculate that perhaps by the end of the story, Salvador will return to this system and dominate the fate of all the characters. Whereupon I will conclude this tale with these 3 characters in a realm ruled by Salvador. How can I bring back a character who has been missing throughout the narrative, yet still impact the story's conclusion? Dominate the end of it. I hope you already have an idea of what I'm thinking. But I will tell you in the next lesson.